Hi, my name is Cezar, and this is my capstone 3 project called Who Would Say That? And in this project, I aim to classify artists solely based on their lyrics. So let's talk data. So the data set consisted of over 12,000 song lyrics from 300 different artists, and these were all scraped over the course of a week. Before these lyrics were written out to the database, I stripped them of stop words, punctuation, and accent characters. And then finally, before we fit this data into a model, each lyric was split into chunks of 30. So if you imagine a lyric with 100 words, there's a chunk with 30, another chunk with 30, third chunk with 30, and then the last chunk with 10 words. And this was done because that's how I intend the model to be used. So I had to train it to know how to handle that. So going to the modeling now, before we can fit any sort of data into our model, first, we have to convert our text data into numbers somehow. We can do this with the count vectorizer, which just gives us a document term matrix of all the words. And then we can transform this into a TF-IDF, which is what is going to be used to fit the model. Now, for this problem, we went with logistic regression using stochastic gradient descent as the optimizer. The reason we use this model is because other models like random forests and gradient boosted trees, these models just took way too long to train, and it just wasn't very feasible. Also tried multinomial naive Bayes, Gaussian naive Bayes, and these models, they trained, but the accuracy just wasn't very good compared to logistic regression with stochastic gradient descent. And so now when we go into the accuracy scores, I plotted the accuracies versus how long each snippet was. On the left, you can see our baseline of 0.29%. That's where the 0 is. And with no parameters, our snippet length of 30 is doing about 18% accuracy, which isn't too bad at all considering our baseline is 0.29%. Now, in doing the accuracy scores, I noticed that certain artists were getting predicted accurately more often than others. So I wanted to do some unsupervised learning on this to kind of figure out why that was happening. And in doing so, I used PCA and I plotted the first 2 dimensions. And the artists that have the top 10 accuracy of predictions, they're labeled. Everybody else is labeled as other. And as you can see, these artists that are predicted correctly more often, they're more on the outskirts of this cluster, which kind of signifies that they're more distinguishable from other artists in terms of their lyrics. So now going into the final model that was used, as stated, I used logistic regression with stochastic gradient descent. The snippet length for the lyrics was 30. And then I used n-grams that ranged up to the size 4. So we'd have n-grams with 2 words, 3 words, and 4 words. And then we also oversampled each of the minority classes because some people had longer lyrics, and when we explode these lyrics into chunks, they just had more data because of that. So we wanted to oversample minority classes to make sure it was kind of an equal playing field. And this model produced an accuracy score of 52%, which is about 175 times better than the baseline. So that goes to show that artists can be distinguished from their lyrics, even if it's a computer doing it. And yeah, it's very possible. So we can go to this website where we can kind of type some lyrics and see what artists we sound like. So let's say I make depressing music, or maybe I make relationship music talking about how I miss my significant other. I would do, I miss you so much, please come back. So now let's see what artists I sound like. This process takes about 10 seconds just because there's so much math going on. It takes a very long time. But yeah, it should be done here shortly. So as you can see, we got Janet Jackson, who is an R&B singer. And that kind of fits what I was going for, more sad music. The Chordettes also, they sing more songs about like relationships, or they did because they're a pretty old group. But yeah, so these artists make sense for the most part. There's always going to be some random artists that pop up here and there. But we can also try some lyrics like this, where maybe I'm bragging a little bit more. And my intent with this is I hopefully get some hip hop artists, some rock artists maybe, since in those genres, boasting about yourself is a lot more popular than in other genres. So let's wait about 10 seconds. And as you can see, we got mostly hip hop artists along with AC/DC, which is a rock band. And this also fits in what I was going for. So yeah, we can see these artists that it predicts make sense for the most part. And yeah, that is my presentation. Thank you.